Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Did you survive Titan Week without a shirt?
Did.
Unlikely. We did, and you can buy that shirt still at Teespring down below. But we're back here to talk about Season 4 of Attack on Titan with our special guest, the old ball and chain, Michelle. Michelle, welcome.
Welcome. Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. She, despite appearances, is something of an expert on Attack on Titan. So we've brought her in.
I know some stuff.
For her expertise.
Oh yeah? Well, who's the best one?
Who's the best one?
Who's the real one?
Who's the real one?
Yeah.
Who's a real one?
Who's a real one?
You'll find out if you keep watching, but especially if you go to subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT and give us $10 for bonus episodes. We did an Attack on Titan one last time with some interesting commentary. Go listen to it and spoil the ending of Attack on Titan for yourselves, and also an advertisement. All right.
Is the ad playing?
The ad will be cut in here afterward, yes. Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTENT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything!
KHANTENT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTENT logo.
Or this!
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTENT! And right now, get yourself the I Survived Titan Week t-shirt. Unless you don't want to survive Titan Week, but hey, that's between you and Jesus. They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTENT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTENT. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are back, Season 4 of Attack on Titan. We have watched episodes 1 through 4. We're here. We're queer. Get used to it. So we're not totally caught up yet. We've got like 4 or 5 are out beyond where we're at. Now, Michelle is, and caught up on the manga too, as I understand it. She's here to provide commentary and snide, looking down on us remarks about the lore that we don't know yet, and fill in any stupid mistakes that we might be making, perhaps. So we'll be talking about episodes 1 through 4.
I've already gotten in a couple. You don't know the half of it.
Yeah, she's really being one of those kind of people. It's horrible. I wanted to share that experience with everybody here, with our audience, about how shitty it is. Okay, so hey, first of all, Season 4 starts with some of the old this stuff going on. War! Dun, 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 dun. War! So now's a good time to reflect, which we didn't mention one time during Titan Week, how cool the openings and endings all were pretty much the whole time.
This is probably my favorite.
We forgot.
I think it might be my favorite OP yet.
I love this opening. It's fucking
great.
sick.
I like this band.
Yes, Shinsei Kamate-chan, pretty much like my favorite band for a long time, and I was not as into the Season 2 ending. I like it, but it was very dreamy. This is more like what their music usually sounds like, but with this obvious influence of the other Titan theme songs added in there. Sounds really cool. Best song they've made in a long time.
It starts off, kind of normal, but it's when that dun 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 war, when you really get pumped up, and the ending, the iconic monster, 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 monster. What a powerful, and there's the weird monster thing formed that looks like Eren's Titan on top of what does it all mean? Oh my God. And of course,
don't know the half.
The military imagery, of course, is leading us to all the stuff that we're going to talk about now.
They love their bird imagery.
They sure do. They sure do.
I fucking love that shit.
These guys, you can see why. The Titans are born to be birds, are they not? So war is happening, right? There's a big whole war scene. Did you tell us about the war going on?
Yeah, this was an interesting place to be dropped into because...
There we go.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of a war zone. There's these very young people fighting on the front lines. And immediately we have the sense that this is the Marleyan soldiers back in Yi big country.
Yep.
So now we're reintroduced into the setting in a way where it's almost as if the whole story had always been set here. Like the way that it takes off is like we're not even acknowledging at first like that we're still watching Attack on Titan. It's like almost like another show set in the same universe, following new characters for a minute.
Yeah, you're right. And there's a great kind of lampshade hang of that where I believe Falco, like one of these new kids we're introduced to, is like, whoa, I just took head trauma. And he's like, aren't there supposed to be like Titans and like people swinging? Like, what's going on?
That was silly.
Obviously, like a joke about people not, this isn't the Attack on Titan I know and love. Where are all my good friends, Sasha and Connie? We're having a war right now. We got to kill these Shriners over here. We'll worry about those guys another day.
So right away, we're going to have to talk about, because one of the things that happened with Season 4 is there's a new anime studio. Mappa is handling it, and the show has a very different feel.
Yeah.
A lot of people really memed on the CGI Titans that we now have. And we can get into that more, but I'll say just up front that like the different feel of this season did intrigue me a lot, because it really laid into that idea of like, yeah, this feels like another place. Like this isn't the walled cities that we've known and loved. This feels like World War II. The technology's a little bit more advanced. The society's more complicated. War is way more complicated. Titans are used in warfare. Like Titans are a weapon. That seems to be like what their purpose is to have, be used for this. So like, it's interesting to see a world where like not only are Titans being used by people, but also being defeated by people, as the weapons are getting, the Marleyans have basically been expanding and having victory because of the Titans, but technology is getting to the point where Titans won't be able to cut it anymore. So they're kind of worried that like unless we go get the original primeval Titan, then we're not going to be powerful enough. It's just fascinating to think that like all this time throughout the show, we've seen humans be like completely on the brink because of Titans, and now we're in a place where Titans are actually not that big a deal anymore. Kind of weak.
Yeah, this is a great time. Luckily, it worked out well, I think, to change art styles. Exactly as you said, because we're doing stuff that's so totally different. And seeing like the new characters, I'm sure some people, are really feeling that like, I miss all my friends. Is this Attack on Titan? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But it's a good time. It's a good spot to do it. And even it kind of even works doubly when you see characters like Reiner and stuff who like. He feels so different in many ways, but seeing him like with all these other people, which was his secret history all along, and the other, Titan shifters we known, it kind of works in its favor for it to be so different. There are criticisms to be made about this animation style, absolutely, but we can get to them in a little bit. But I fucking love seeing the way that Titans are utilized in warfare. First of all, not even just Titans, the Eldians themselves, them and their cursed blood and their, Jew armbands or whatever, are just cannon fodder. They are just the troops that are, like the Marleyans say to them, all right, so you guys are scum.
All the
you guys are
suicide
trash.
bombers.
Literal suicide bombers. They just strap bombs to them, and they're ordered to go explode
800
themselves.
of you are going to die.
I mean,
because they're so
the Titans also are technically kind of just suicide bomb Eldians, right?
You're
half of
absolutely
them
right.
die on impact from the height that they are dropped from on this fort.
Man, I love it. Like it's super fucked up seeing like the way it's been like commodified this way after like all the mystery and intrigue of Titans. Now we've got a plane full of clearly drugged up Eldians who are like unconscious, probably pumped full of like Xanax or whatever the fuck, just to keep them subservient. So they can be kicked off of a plane, injected like on the way down, and just turned into human bombs.
Is that why Titans have those faces?
Why? What faces?
Because the people on the plane had those faces.
They were
like
dropped to the ground.
Some of them that could explain it, maybe, but I mean, not all of them.
You're telling me they're just like high for like hundreds of years?
I find that hard to believe. I think they're just naturally happy guys, the Titans.
I kind of get the feeling that the Titans are just like mindless consumers that just go and just keep putting things in their face, and they're not really thinking about anything. They just kind of have whatever expression they were like, I don't know, like whatever would have been that person's like very casual state of mind, I guess. Like if you were just like, oh, I'm just wandering around existing, eating stuff because I'm constantly hungry, like
yeah. But I mean, this
like
is where
Winnie the Pooh. They're like a bunch of Winnie the Pooh.
Are they just like in a state of ecstasy all the time?
I don't
see what the problem is.
Well, they say ignorance is bliss, right? And they seem like mindless automatons. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could make that argument.
It seems great.
Well, I get the feeling that they are the ultimate soldier in that way, because what's the biggest problem with all the other Eldian soldiers? They don't want to die.
They care about their lives too much.
They're like afraid and like want human rights and things.
Oh,
like
pussies,
like,
some pussy shit. I would never with an Eldian.
Literally smiling as they get killed, the Titans, most of the time.
Yep. Might be a better fate than being a human suicide bomber like some of the others are, which is where we're introduced to. So the kids that we meet, our squad of like this girl Gabby, this guy Falco, who we had talked about, and two others whose names I can't remember because they seem less important. Maybe they'll be important. I'm not worried about those guys. These are like 12, 13, 14-year-old children on the front lines of like a battlefield. Like, sure, we've got adult Eldians that are being cannon fodder, but what use do these guys even have? So it seems that they're here. They're here as like training, to get experience in warfare or whatever. But Gabby here has a brilliant idea, the soldier that she is. So sure, they're going to do this forward advance thing and send like 800 soldiers to die. Gabby's like, don't worry about that. I'm the best. I'm going to just take care of this problem myself. And she has this weird little plan of pretending to be an innocent girl, which obviously is a pretty good cover.
Get down in her undies.
Get naked. This usually works out well. And then just kind of act innocent, get close enough to enemy lines, and then throw this weird bomb thing she constructed. Because they won't kill her because
she's a cute little girl.
And that is true.
Toxic thoughterry.
She's from a young age.
Why
Gabby
women deserve
weaponizes
less?
it. Why women deserve less. She just uses it, blows up this train, and Gabby is just revealed to be the fucking champ. She's a winner.
Badass.
Great attitude. Love to see it.
I love her voice. I want to know who her voice actress is.
She's really good.
Sounds cool. Yeah.
She's
I want to voice clone her. I just want to listen to clips of her all day.
She is universally hated.
I've heard rumblings that Gabby is a less well-beloved character than the generally positive things we've seen so far. She's a little bit arrogant, a little bit of an asshole.
Twitter made sure to know why.
I'm gonna guess we haven't really discovered what she's what her great folly is.
I think not. I think not. The point is, a big war happens. Let's see, who are our heroes who are fighting this war against the good old Shriners? Reiner's there, jumps in his armored Titan. Zeke is there, leading the charge.
Big Dick is back in town.
Big Dick Zeke is back in town.
Oh, he's so dreamy.
He is incredibly dreamy. But we'll talk about Zeke, who's a
Reiner looks dreamy too. They look great.
Reiner looks terrible with his horrible little beard.
I'm not feeling the beard. On Reiner.
He looks great.
I like that he looks
Zeke's
older,
got a real beard. Zeke's looking great out there, but Reiner. And
Zeke, though, cut his hair, which is not as... He was looking pretty cool with the long hair.
It looks a little worse. He looks a
little too dignified and, like, businessman-y.
Yeah, well, I like him being a mad lad, like a strategist, a war chief, That was a great look for the guy. Anyway, and the other two are, we've got the Jaw Titan, Porco? Porco, right. And the Cart Titan, who we saw before, of Peak.
The best.
German word. And, we shortly learn who all these Titans are, what their backstory is. We had some doubts before about exactly who the Cart Titan was. There may have been some confusion about a certain character standing on a wall. Okay, whatever. That's all behind us now. Don't worry about any of that.
Who was that character standing on?
It was Bert. It did look like Bert.
If you just went back and rewatched that little part, you would know exactly
And that's what I did.
Why did we think it wasn't Bert?
Because there's wind blowing on his hair. And to be fair, in that moment, he looked just like that guy who was with them and got eaten when they first showed up and was eaten by Ymir. It looked just like that guy, and his clothes were all different. So I don't think it was unreasonable to be like, who's that? But if you look a little closer, it's just
Armin's
Bert.
dad.
It's just Bert. Hashtag Armin's dad
I hate
is
it
every
here.
kid.
I feel blind now. Yeah, well, Cart Titan's a QT who likes to lay around a lot.
She's a sleepy babe.
She does not like to be on two legs in any way.
Because she's in Titan mode for so long. She's just used to it.
The new Titans and all these kids, they're all working for the government that's at war. Seems to just be like an expansionist regime. It's particularly fucked because, like, I guess the people in this empire are pretty happy. They are not facing the war. They just hear about it in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. They're like, our country just keeps fucking winning. It's awesome. Meanwhile, all the Eldians are treated like shit. And we're told that apparently Eldians are treated even worse in other countries.
Right.
And we see that the team that these guys seem to be fighting, I've noticed that, like, whereas originally all the people on the island had, like, Germanic themes and names, these people seem to be more American.
Marleyan seems generally Germanic, but I mean, for example, these Shriners are clearly like Turkish or something. So, and when they capture one of those guys, like when an Eldian, one of the people is like trying to help him because he was injured, he's just like, "Don't touch me, fucking devils! You're fucking, you know."
You get your stink on me.
Right,
There's a similar episode of Eureka 7 where a Muslim allegory girl is dying and they won't give her medicine, and Renton has to learn about cultural differences and. That's what happens here.
Yes.
As this man is dying. They encounter one of the Muslim people, and he's like, oh, fucking Eldians are disgusting. So Eldians are just treated like shit basically everywhere in the world. So, like, when you see all this, it really recontextualizes the island more and more in your mind, where you're thinking about, like, okay, like, Eldians are treated like shit literally everywhere. They kind of have it better inside the walls.
Yeah.
They don't perceive it that way because they don't know what it's like everywhere else.
So let's, revisiting the question of why the king would make his own little protected world, I think we're getting some information as to why that is.
And it's totally understandable why the rest of the world would, like, really hate these people. Because they turn into giant monsters.
Yeah, because they're fucking with the banking system. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They turn into monsters. Yeah, it's really fucked up that they do that.
They're just so greedy, you know?
But these people Eldians are a serious threat. Wherever they go, any Eldian could turn into a fucking monster and kill you and everyone you know.
Well, okay, so first of all, you'd have to actually inject them with the fluid, which, right? Like, they can't just turn into monsters at any time.
Well, you know what?
Unless you're like one of the special
And
ones.
also, like...
That's not true. And you know why? Because we see Zeke use his yelling powers to turn all those monsters while... I actually forgot about this. We don't see... That's right. Zeke is royal blood. We do not see them inject fluid into the Titans when they're falling down. Zeke does a supersonic yell thing, which clearly is not because he's the Beast Titan, but because he's of royal blood to turn them into Titans. So clearly, that is a power that can be used by, like, the royal family to turn humans into Titans. And if you think back to it, when Zeke appeared during the fight during Season 3, and, like, all those Titans appeared all at once... I'm betting that wasn't spinal fluid. I'm betting that was Zeke doing that since Zeke was leading that charge. So, I mean, if there's no royal family, this wouldn't be a problem. But there is a royal family.
They should just kill the royal family.
That seems like a solid plan.
Is Zeke aware that he is part of the royal family?
Yeah.
Because somebody said, like, a character says something to him, like, you're not even a part of the royal family.
Right.
Why, blah, blah, blah.
And Zeke replies to that being like, I can never tell you my true secret. Not that it would have anything to do with what you just said.
Yeah, that was odd.
That was an oddly specific thing to say.
I guess it was just to let us know that they don't know.
I think so, yeah.
That makes sense.
No one put two and two together.
Not yet. They'll figure it out one of these days. So there is a military meeting after this war that obviously they win. And of course, one of the issues is, okay, Reiner was there. Oh my God, the armored Titan's so powerful. Zeke, the jaw, the cart. They managed to win, but they're taking some serious casualties.
Reiner fucking sucks.
Reiner's not doing
armored
great.
Titan always gets his ass kicked.
I don't think he's won one fight other than...
Well, there's a good reason for that. And man, Reiner's like the best character in this show. Like,
he's got a lot going on.
He's the most fleshed out, complicated, like... The reasons for why he is. He was never supposed to be a warrior.
No, he was not.
He sucks. He's actually not that great.
He was literally made a Titan as a joke by the other characters.
One of his, not even as a joke, but his friend to spare his own brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Like flubbed the result, made it so Reiner always looked good and made his brother look bad so his brother would live.
It was cool seeing how in... the island, he's like this really cool big dick dude, and everybody looks up to him. But like back home, he sucks and everybody hates him.
Well, it's because when we finally get to his backstory and they show the mission, that other guy whose name I can't remember, that guy was the leader, was like the oldest kid. Of course, it's fair to ask the question, like, why were children entrusted with this mission exactly? We know adults can become the Titan, so it's not like a children-only rule.
Probably
We've seen it happen.
Easier to brainwash.
That might be it.
Also, like nice continuity error. When they showed those three guys in season 2 or 3, and like the ending song, and they were grown-ups when they were going to the wall.
There's a couple continuity errors here. You know, you're talking about there's a moment where we see a flashback to them arriving at the wall, and they look much older than like canonically they were at the time. By the way, because there've been some comments about like
planned everything.
That's the thing.
Even though he
says himself that he does not plan everything.
And let me just make one more point that this is definitely a clear retcon. I was thinking about this before. When we see Ymir first, I looked at this in the manga. It might be true in the anime as well, but when it was really the first time this was depicted, when Ymir was shown as a pure Titan right before she ate that Titan shifter guy, which we now know was the Jaw Titan, she had sharp teeth and looked exactly like her Titan form now.
She was a little monster.
But we know that eating a Titan form is supposed to change your shape, but she looked exactly the same in her first depiction before and after eating that guy. I really don't think it's a stretch to say that idea was not 100% fleshed out, and that's not a problem.
I think for sure that idea was not a thing until later on.
So that's not a problem.
Because the Jaw Titan wasn't even brought up, right?
No, it was not.
Not that I remember.
It's when I see comments that say Isayama planned literally everything and not a one thing, you're not letting the man be a human being. You're treating him like a god, and he has admitted to retcons and mistakes in the past.
When it comes to you saying, I don't know if he planned Bert, Annie, and Reiner being like the 3, bad guys in the beginning.
See, okay, here's an olive branch.
That was a clearly planned thing.
On this subject, we had a debate about this. I went back because I had suspicions if everything was planned out. You guys have heard this before on the show sometimes. I now believe that while my caution may have been reasonable at the time, it does look like he planned out, like, most of the stuff about Titan shifters, who it was going to be, the evidence is there, and I'm convinced.
Main plot.
Because main plot,
I mean, these 4 episodes almost pitch Reiner as, like, the other main character.
Yeah.
As, like, he's the immediate foil to Eren, as somebody who, in his own hometown, was, like, very determined to, like, I'm a total loyalist to the government, I'm going to do everything exactly the way they tell me to, and I'm going to fucking do my mission with absolute... no matter what. And, like, he has the same kind of expression that Eren does, that, like, super intense,
There's a shot comparison, too, of we see Eren staring up at his wall, and then we cut to Reiner staring up at his, like, little walled-in city inside, Marley or whatever. So, obviously, the parallels are there.
And it's really interesting that we take this step back in multiple ways, where first we introduce the kids that Reiner is training, and then Reiner himself as an older man now, like, being back in town, dealing with all the people here, and, like, how he has to frame the stories of going to the island, where, like, they're talking about, like, oh, you killed all these evil people there, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, they were fucking terrible. And he tells the story of Sasha and the potato.
One girl ate a potato.
Yeah. And then and as he keeps going on about it, he's saying, like, well, there was this type of person. There were all types of people there. And then one of them's like, all types of people, but they're all bad, right? And he's like, of course, right? So it's like you see how he's playing into the system. He is furthering it. He's still staying on mission, even though his mind is pretty fucked from all the stuff he's seen at this point.
It kind of shows how you can mislead and tell lies without once telling a real lie. You can paint anything however you want.
And I don't even know where Reiner's at mentally, because there's this part where
he does attempt to shoot himself in the face
at one point and
not
die.
So great.
Yeah, he's not doing well.
There's a part where the kid says to him, I want to become the Armored Titan so I can save the girl. And then he basically agrees with him in the most roundabout way possible, where he's like, oh, you think it's fucking fun? Or you think you just want to be the fucking, fuck you. And the kid's like, but, and he's like, fuck you, yeah, that's right. He's like, but I have to do it to save her. And he's like, that's right, you do. Like, it's literally that. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, Reiner's mental state, you know what, it's really a good example of just this entire little sub-Eldian society. Because we really get a view into their mindset. What they're told to believe, what most of them at least seem to believe, we're the good Eldians. We are the good ones.
If it wasn't for those bad ones, we'd be treated equally.
Those bad ones give us a bad name. And if we help these Marleyans obliterate them, we will be treated fairly and good, and, like, we'll be good people again. And, like, that that cope, but that like story they can tell themselves to keep getting up every day has just permeated this society. And in that being encapsulated in Reiner's whole story, like the fact that like his dad was a Marleyan, fucked his mom like one time. He'd been training as a warrior to meet his dad, become an honorary Marleyan. Even when he does it, his dad still is like, get the fuck away from me. You're still a monster. It was a mistake to be with your mother ever. So even when he like gets to meet his dad, reaches all his goals, like it gives him nothing, but he just keeps going. His cognitive dissonance is like off the charts. I'm doing everything right. I'm trying to help, but my life is just a nightmare and I'm getting nothing good.
Well, there's a line that Aaron says to, I think, the kid, who, by the way, Aaron is like around somehow. He's here. He's got one leg.
He snuck in somehow.
You don't know the half of it.
Yeah. Somehow Aaron's around and he's just kind of playing hobo, low-key. He still seems to be in massively calmed down mode, as we saw him at the end of the last season.
He has changed. War has changed Aaron. Yeah.
And there's a
he's like a foot taller now too.
He has a line to the kid, I think, where he talks about like once you go. It's either him or Reiner. He says like once you go past the point of like where you were trying to get to, and then it's like all that's propelling you is your own self. It's like it's a new form of hell or salvation. You're not sure which.
Both Reiner and Aaron are well past what their initial goals were.
Exactly. They've gotten to this point where they're like, well, I'm not entirely sure what is the answer or if there is one, but I'm just gonna keep going.
Just keep on trucking.
Search of whatever there is, and like we'll see if that leads to something good or bad. There's no way to predict it or go back to anything, any kind of stable spot anymore.
Another character I'm following with great interest, and I'm trying to see into this guy, but we don't really get a ton, is Zeke. Zeke is like my most fascinating character. Oh, I hate him, but I love him. He's an asshole, but he's so dreamy, and he's a war chief, and he's so handsome. His abs are incredible. He's got cool glasses. I love everything about Zeke.
I liked him and Reiner walking on top of the roof and him just like kind of clipping forward a little.
Did that happen?
Yeah.
The animation cuts, there's some weird... there's one moment where like one of the kids, like this is a famous scene now, where a kid is like moving way too much as he like navigates
and Gabby
around.
at the table.
And Gabby at the table, yeah.
They're moving, but it's too much.
There's a lot of
Calm
weird
down.
like rotoscope animation going on of the characters. One of these changes to the season. But Zeke here, like Zeke calls a meeting, or rather at the beginning he has a meeting with the generals. Zeke, I have seen no cracks in the fact that Zeke, unlike Reiner, Zeke seems supremely dedicated and like mentally stable on like fuck the Paradise Island peoples, the Paradise Island. They're going down. We have to obliterate them. Like he betrayed his parents, Grisha and his mom. He's like clearly on the same side as his grandparents were. He is on point with the mission. But there's another element going on where he is apparently in his last year of life.
This is last like 6 months or something.
He's got like a few months left.
Right, because they only lived for 13 years.
That's right.
They're
clearly
really putting these like they put those kids in war, and it's like Zeke's gonna die in like a couple months.
Don't risk those kids.
Yeah.
We need them to
What are you
eat this
doing?
man. That's a little bit of a risky idea, yeah. But I mean, he's just. During, like, the meetings, you'd think that he'd be, like, I don't know, like a subversive agent. Like, he'd actually be trying to work against the Marleyan government. Like, I've got a plan. I'm gonna save my people or whatever. But he's so, like, helpful. We gotta obliterate them. Here are my strategies on how we're gonna kill all my people. Because they're bad and we're good. We're gonna help them. And the only time that there's been a crack is this iconic scene between him and like, the other Titans who he gathers in one room. And he gives everybody a hint, like, they're listening. There's like a subtle hint implied there. So it makes me wonder that, like, while everything that they've said has been him going along with the plan, it's been so absolute, and we've seen, like, no, views into his mind. Are we building to Zeke has, like, some other plan? Maybe not exactly what his dad's was, but there's some shit going on. Because I want to believe Zeke is more than just a fucking dog to these fucking governments that are enslaving him. Maybe I'm just hoping for a character I like too much, but this is what I like to see.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Good to know.
I like him.
We get a lot of this insight into the world that Reiner comes from and his place in it having come back. Before we then dive into his backstory, which I thought was clever, because at first when they introduced these new kids, I was worried. I'm like, y'all ain't trying to get me to care about new characters this fucking late in the game, are you?
Right.
But it's not really about the characters. It's about their place in this society, what it says about Eldians, and again, like, why would Paradise Island exist? We kind of have better sense of it, seeing the way Eldians are treated. and all this endless warfare. But it also helps when we then go into Reiner's backstory, because now we understand, like, you know, how this would have looked, like, basically how the same thing is still going on, but he dealt with this when he was a kid. We then go into him and his friends getting sent to the island, one of them immediately getting eaten by Ymir, and the fact that Reiner was the one who argued that they needed to stay. They can't leave the island. They were like, Annie's like, we should go back because we lost our fucking guy. We don't have a leader. And Reiner's like, well, what makes you think they'll only punish me? What if they fucking kill all of us because we fucked up? Annie beats the living shit out of him.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Which was great.
That was sick.
And then it was also really interesting just realizing that because of the fact that we've now contextualized it, they were all like children. Yeah. They were children when they did the attack. Yep. Like, they were literally little kids fucking storming this like 8-year-olds when the first episode happened.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that's wild, and it helps you to get into the emotional state they were in at the time of, like, you know, all this time, if you were thinking that Reiner and Bert were part of some, like, great scheme that they knew, like, down to its core, it's really not like that.
Yeah,
it's like they were basically suicide bomber soldiers sent on a mission when they were children that went on a lot longer than any of them could have possibly seen coming.
Yeah.
Like, totally changed them as they grew up.
And the fact that Reiner experienced all these, like, now that we're making him be, like, the saddest, most punished boy, was never intended for this. It's interesting to note that, like, he was the number 2 warrior in, like, his class, you know, when he was being a
really
soldier.
fucking worked after
he got his shit together, no doubt about it. And, like, we see his mental state changing. When, I mean, Annie beats the shit out of him. He gets up and chokes her the fuck out anyway, because he just will not go down, which is kind of cool. You see him become, like, the leader. And this is clearly the, like, psychotic break is being experienced in that moment when he's like, the leader's dead. They're going to kill me if I go back. I have to find some way to do it. And I guess his answer is compartmentalize my brain. And,
choke
like,
Annie out.
Choke Annie out. That's
Put
usually
me in a self-defense situation.
It had to be done. It had to be done. So watching his character kind of be explained this way, you know, is satisfying. I like it, and just really interesting. And the fact that he is suicidal now makes total sense to me. You know, his cousin is Gabby, the, like, you know, energetic little girl. By the way, everybody loves the scene of Gabby when she came back as, like, the war hero she is, on everybody's shoulders, like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm Gabby. I'm so fucking sick. So far, I agree. I agree. I want to see Gabby win. She's doing well. But hopefully, I mean, Falco's trying to save her from the fate of becoming a Titan. Will she still be the Armored Titan, or will Falco save her from the fate? I guess we'll find out.
I really like when those 3 guys are talking to that old dude when they go inside the wall. That dude that kills himself.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the story he tells them is the story Bert tells, like, Armin and
You're talking about, they met an old man, Bert, Annie, and Reiner, when they first got inside the walls.
Yeah.
They met an old man, and he told them the backstory that they, like, stole and
and
used.
Bert stole that backstory and made it their backstory.
Amazing. Why did the old man kill himself?
Because he was sad, because he left his, like, kids and family, because he was the only survivor in that village.
Yeah, I think that's
depression.
That's what Reiner was thinking about when he was getting ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
right?
Thinking about suicide when you're gonna do it.
Yeah, so
it's contagious.
This whole arc, I think,
that guy went through with it. Mm-hmm. He's not a pussy.
Reiner's a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Reiner sucks.
Suicide is actually contagious too.
It is. Yeah, it's a mental virus.
Yes. This arc, I think, lays into the themes of the series a lot more, or makes them more clear, because, like, aside from, like, war bad, the main thing that Titan focuses on is the propagandizing and, like, the brainwashing of just, like, raising the populace on the idea of war, like, the idea that, like, they can go be these great warriors in some form or another. And even though, like, culturally, before this whole attack happened on them, they did not have a warlike culture. They just had the Survey Corps. Right. And most people laughed at the Survey Corps and thought they were ridiculous. Only dipshits like Eren wanted to be a part of the Survey Corps, and everyone laughs at him for it. Yeah. So, like, I would have to assume that, like, maybe we'll eventually learn that, like, the Survey Corps basically existed as, like, a platitude of, like, oh, we are trying to do something about the Titans, but, like, we're not supposed to be doing something about the Titans.
It makes you wonder, like, why the king, who, you know, there was a king who had control over Titans who existed at this point, why they allowed the, like, you could, you know, take all your Titans, have them kill the whole Survey Corps, and, like, try to suppress them. It might be like a natural release valve for people like
That's
Eren.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so that the population thinks that there's something being done about this supposed problem that really isn't a problem for most people because the Titans don't breach the walls. They hadn't breached the walls for 100 years. It only happened because of a calculated attack by somebody.
You know, now is, I think, an apt moment to bring up something people sometimes compare this to, The Matrix, where the specific point of comparison I think that's interesting is that, you know, there's a question of why was the Matrix, this mental prison for all these human slaves being used for like their body's natural processes or whatever, why didn't they make it a perfect paradise where everybody gets what they want? Why did they make it like the end of the 20th century, right? And the answer is because like humans don't do well in a paradise. Humans need like at least according to the Matrix or whatever. I happen to think that seems like a reasonable case. But like humans need to think that like their lives have meaning, that they're working towards something. And you know, that could be kind of the correlate that the king's given them through the Survey Corps. Not everybody is like Aaron's mom who's like, I'm happy with my little baby. I'm just gonna snuggle it up and have a good day. Some people need to feel forward action, like Aaron.
The idea of like manipulating the minds of children is pretty heavily like placed upon in this. And then I think at the end we're all like converging on going back to the island. Got to go back to the island like in Lost.
Yeah, there's important things seem to be happening there. Like Marley, our invasion force began with, you know, that 4-man team, one of whom died, invading it to do something about the walls. One, because I think they wanted to wipe them out, but two, there's some discussion of like natural resources they need.
The Titan, they need the primeval Titan.
Right, that one too.
Titan.
That's right, that's
the
right.
The founder Titan.
The founding Titan. They think it's in the walls. The technology's not good enough. We got to go get the founding Titan out of the walls, but whatever they're going to try to do on this island, they don't know that Aaron already knows about it because he's there and he's been sending letters through this kid. I also like the idea that Aaron is innocently telling this kid, oh, send these letters to my family or whatever, but he's probably using this child to do his own military.
Oh, he definitely is.
He's kind of fucked up, Aaron.
Yeah, which is great.
Leave
I
him
like
out
that
of it.
he's doing that because I think there's going to be a point where like he's just going to be like, yeah, well, you know, I just am a hard ass now. Yeah, I use child soldiers too because I have to, like everyone else.
It seems that way.
That's where I think we're going.
I like they showed Aaron's grandpa. He was walking out because he used to be a doctor.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that scene was
Aaron
And
great.
you think he's
Grandpa.
a doctor, but he's just a crazy man.
It was unclear. Is he a doctor?
No, he
or
just-
just a patient there.
He's just a patient there who's crazy.
Okay, why
I like
do they
Aaron's
let a
eye roll.
Why do they let a patient wear a doctor's lab coat?
Because he's like been there for a long time. Makes him happy. It probably stops him from screaming
Okay.
and bugging everyone.
All right, whatever, fine.
I like Aaron's eye roll at him.
He does have a little eye roll when this guy's like, oh, my life's so sad, everything's fucked up. Aaron's like, Jesus, bro, come on. Compare your life to mine and kill yourself.
He asked, like, do you have any regrets about your family? Well, and that was another interesting thing. And this is just a great commentary, I think, on the way people be. That, like, Aaron, who's been through so much fucking shit, is, like, mind hardened, ready. He's in the zone. He's like calm. He knows what's going on. His granddad, who like lived a normal life for the most part, completely insane because his mind was broken by these couple of traumatic things that happened to him. Like, it just kind of shows how it's fascinating to me how like people who can't live in reality, like they fucked up so badly, or like the world fucked them over so badly in some way that like they just like facing reality will make your mind completely erode. So they can't. They have to live in like a half fantasy. And I think that almost everyone lives that way in the real world. Like most of us have some level of like artificial idea of like what we think our life is, that it's just like something we've built on top of the literal existence of like, you know, what you literally do day to day. And so like, you know, for Aaron, as somebody who's living like very nose to the grindstone, there's not a lot of extra meta contextual stuff going on around him aside from the political structure of like what's causing him to fight. You know, whereas like, again, if you're living like in every day-to-day life and you're not concerned about anything, it's like if you actually think about the fact that like, oh, I'm only able to live this casual life because the Eldians are, you know, sacrificing themselves to fall as Titan bombs on places, then, you know, might make you a little insane.
There's definitely that thread of normal life versus what all these horrible things that are happening out there. And the wars are purely for expansion. They don't even really need to be doing it. So it's just kind of throwing it away for nothing. So there's this other plot line that we get to of there appears to be a plan in the works to like change the current policy or bring peace.
I forgot about the whole Tybur family.
The Tybur family with their leader Willie.
Yeah.
Willie Tybur.
With their Warhammer.
And
Warhammer Titan.
He seems to say, like, okay, we are the rich elites who control the world. Just flat out, that's us. But it's not our fault. People want us to do things the way we do it. The people are twisted. They're the ones who want us to fucking fight all these wars and torture all these Eldians. But I think it's wrong, and I'm going to change it. That's what he says.
So he's got a plan that seems kind of positive. There's a lot of build-up to this announcement that obviously we're going to get to when probably like next episode after we keep going.
I'm assuming the plan is going to be something like, hey guys, we just need to eliminate all humans or something like.
It's going to be something crazy. Obviously, it's got to be madman shit, or they wouldn't be building it up. It can't be like a very normal idea or something.
One of the people in the Tybur family have the Warhammer Titan. We don't know which one it is.
Right. So that's a Titan we haven't seen before. Somebody's got it. I'm sure it's going to be fun to see one of these days, one of the 9 Titans. I think with that, that's the last of the 9 Titans. I think we now have heard of them all. Jaw, Colossus, blah, blah, blah. I think it was the last one. Although the founding Titan is one of the 9. It's not like a different one. It's one of the 9, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we've seen them all, I think. Right, and there's this idea that Willie and his family are the true ones in control. And they're Eldians. They're at least part Eldian, but they're also descendants of the hero who saved Marley from Helos, right? But they're just like, we are literally the rulers of Marley. So this Marleyan society is actually ruled by Eldians all along. It's just that they, at least have a claim to be related to the hero who 150 years, whatever it fucking was, saved the world from those guys.
But the statue is empty.
The statue is empty.
Hollow.
So the race that's being held down is actually secretly in control, is what you're saying?
That's exactly.
Just that one family.
Just this one family, true, but just the elite.
He lost the
of
guy
the group.
that had supposedly fought. Yeah. There's a big statue of him, and they just said the statue's hollow.
They sure did.
They said just like he says the statue is like the whatever goodness of the spirit of the empire or something. He's like, oh yeah, it's hollow. That means it is like that. Wow, edgy. There's definitely some fucking dialogue in these episodes that's like a little fucking like, all right.
Yeah,
like,
it's very anime.
Yeah.
Very, very just very ReZero-esque, except that it happens in like 2 sentences where a character will say like, the dialogue in this case will be like, human greed leads to lots of like bad damaging things, and the other person will be like, yeah, greed, whatever, and then you move on to all right, strategy, Titan meeting, and then in ReZero it would be like 15 minutes of like, oh, here's my version of what greed is versus yours, and yours is actually, if you had actually written this word slightly differently, then it would have changed the whole meaning of your life and everything that you're doing.
These stories, they're doing different kinds of things.
Yeah.
Please just show us Levi.
Yeah, where is he? Please.
Please.
We pretty much leave it there. The last thing that happens, we know that these plans are underway. There's going to be an announcement.
A play.
There's going to be a play, a song and dance.
I'm just thinking it's funny. You said like, show us Levi. Where's Levi? And like, I'm sure there are people who legitimately like watching this are like, where's all my characters and stuff like that. But like, I thought these were like the best episodes of the show so far.
They've been really good.
This was the moment where Attack on Titan actually became good. Where I was like, oh,
what a take.
This show's actually good. Like, wow. Because it finally came full circle to the answers I've been waiting for all this time about Reiner's past in particular, and they were satisfying answers. Shows like this I usually hate because I'm always like, well, you string me along with this mystery. The answer will never be as satisfying as the amount of strung along that I was. And in this case, it actually kind of was. Like, it wasn't not about all the whole, like, the world is secretly...
You get the foreplay, you get the big coom at the end.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that it was a character who's been with us the entire time, and we finally learned the rest of the details of who they are, and it made so much sense and was such a, like, complete, robust character. Yeah. And that's all I've wanted from this show, is, like, the plot has been... the most... powerful thing it has is its premise. Like, the premise alone is what got everybody hooked. If the plot can follow through on the premise, then it's a good show. That's how most people would rate things, I think. It's like, hey, it lived up to the promise it had at the start. But to me, it's like, there has to also be some kind of character that, like, I can reference back to as, like, oh yeah, like if I'm describing human experience and like the way that people act, the way that people react to things, I can reference back like, oh yeah, Reiner, that was a really good portrayal of like PTSD and being a child soldier and like all these different things that go wrong throughout his life that other people cause for him. Like it all makes sense and it's done well and it adds up to a character who like everything he did throughout the series, you can go, yeah. That all adds up. That's all the same guy.
I, as one who's very skeptical, have done the checking. And I have looked back and compared it to the manga. And I'm like, some things, little imperfect. That story makes sense. It works. It is what it is. And I like it.
I just like to see the Titans fight.
I do like to see the Titans fight. And perhaps we're going to get to that. Because the very last thing we see is Falco, who's been hanging out with Eren, and says, hey, Reiner, I got somebody who wants to talk to you real quick.
He wants to talk to you in this
Come
basement,
on down here
right
in this creepy basement. Yeah. So Reiner pulled down into the stage where there's Eren. So Eren and Reiner, like last thing is just like, oh, Eren, oh, Reiner, we've met at last. And Falco is also there. Will he be fucked up or involved somehow? Probably a little bit. So where does it go? Why has Eren chosen to reveal himself right now? Surely there's got to be a reason for that we will, get into probably next fucking episode.
Yeah, I'm sure we don't know the half of it either.
Yeah, like they must have they've had years to cook up plans and make schemes and do all kinds of shit to prepare for whatever they're about to do, so.
One other thing we should touch on
For
before
all
we
we
move
know,
on.
Eren is already in cahoots with Willy. It could all be part of the big plan. Who the fuck knows?
Whoa!
So,
before we conclude this episode, we should talk a little bit more about the animation and the presentation.
Yeah.
So Mappa's doing this season, and it's interesting. It definitely looks different. Mm-hmm. My biggest complaint is not about the CG. It's that the whole show generally looks more generic. Like, it doesn't have that like super distinctive flair that Tetsuro Araki brings to everything he does, and especially Attack on Titan. But like, the character art is like different. In some ways, it's better. It's less distinct, but like more complex, better drawn in certain ways. But like, then you've got the weird animation because you've got. I don't know if it's rotoscoped, but like there's parts where characters are just like moving really weird, moving too much. And sometimes it looks cool, and sometimes it's just like out of nowhere and jarring. Some of the moments they chose to do it at are weird. Like you said, there's a kid. Yeah, there's like this kid just having a conversation, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa. You're like, what the hell?
Which I'm sure will be fixed in the Blu-ray, which they did with like other scenes.
The ultimate cope. It'll be fixed in the Blu-ray.
It'll be fixed in the
It was bad on purpose.
Season 1 had like literally unfinished animation when it came out. So it's always been, a production that's had its issues. But like, the biggest thing people have complained about is the CG Titans, of course. And like, when I think about some of the like amazing dramatic artwork of the Titans in the earlier seasons, obviously if they had always been these CG Titans, this show would not have been popular. They're not the most attractive models. I don't hate the CG only because what they've done with it is allowed the action to be way more movement heavy. Titans are like, you got Reiner running all the way around a town and like crashing into walls and stuff, and like that stuff's really fun. And at this point in the series, like the presence of the Titans is very different. It used to be a Titan shows up, boom, huge image, Titan takes up the whole screen. Now Titans are like passe. They're fighting each other all the fucking time.
They've been commodified. They're just tools of war. That's all they are.
So it makes sense for like the presentation of them at this point in the story to pull back and show them more starkly and less dramatically and more just like running out and fucking fighting. And the fights can be a little bit more chaotic and active outside of just the hype moments of big animation. Having said all that, though, I mean, like, it still feels like a downgrade. Like, overall, the visuals were so strong, especially in Season 3, that it's hard to look at this as not a downgrade.
I have to agree. And I basically agree with everything you said. The Titans look worse, but I care less right now because they're doing slightly different things, and I'm just kind of able to get past it. Agree with your takes almost 100%.
I've heard there's maybe some parts that we will be laughing at later, but
there were. To be fair, like even in Season 3, I know some people disagree with me. I thought some of the Colossal Titan shots looked abysmal, looked absolutely terrible.
I thought they looked fine.
Well, not every shot was equally bad. Some of them, I thought, like, if I went back, I could show some highlights of, like, particularly awful ones. And it's the Colossal Titan.
I mean, you see
He's
it,
huge.
And you're like, wow, this sure is 3D.
even beyond that, it's the fact that there's like no motion on this giant thing with like a lot of details, and it feels very stagnant.
Because he's moving real slow.
I know. Yeah, I know. Well, so I don't know. I can give the show a little bit of a break. Luckily, the ideas that have been brought to the table are more than carrying things in a very good way. And,
I don't mind if like the environment or whatever seems like more bland for right now, because we're not in like this weird fantastical walled city where like you want to learn about it.
We're just kind of a bland
we're just in the
now.
real world.
Yeah,
right. It is like the whole thing is kind of just to demystify what Attack on Titan originally was and almost retell the story from another perspective. Like, hey, look, here's what it like. It feels more like a normal war, which is less exciting, except that it's interesting that this is happening in the Attack on Titan world. And it makes you be like, well, okay, well, what's that all going to mean in the end? And I know there's a lot of people who are concerned about the ability for this show to actually wrap up the rest of the manga within 16 episodes. I haven't read ahead, so I don't know, but I understand the concern because it definitely feels like we've opened up so many possibilities of exploring this world. But at the same time, they've kind of zeroed in, like, we're going back to the island. If that's what they're doing, then I would think, okay, that feels climactic, you know, but this was an interesting excursion and way to make the story just feel bigger and longer and more fleshed out. I liked it. I'd say this is like the best part of Attack on Titan so far.
It was up there. It was definitely
other than the actual end of season 3 fight. And I guess that's what makes this work as well, is that like in my mind the show kind of was over at the end of season 3. Like all the big battles I had been anticipating, like I had been shocked that Reiner survived the battle because it was like, well, this is what we were waiting for. The fact that he now has this even more deep, like fleshed out backstory is like, oh wow, like I would have been satisfied with what we had. Now I actually am impressed, you know.
Reiner wants to die so bad.
And
he just can't.
Perhaps we'll get the chance.
Maybe.
We'll find out someday on a future episode of KHANTEHNT.
We didn't talk about the ending song.
The ending song?
The ending song.
You mean of season 3?
Season 4.
What's there to say about the ending song?
I like it.
How does it go again? I can't remember. What happens in the ending? I can't remember it at all right now.
There's like squiggles.
Squiggles.
I like the drop.
Does this stick in your mind, Digi, at all? I don't remember.
No, I'm just remembering there was a post-credit scene on episode 4 where I think it was just going to see Eren in the basement.
Yeah, the very last thing
that was fun.
Yeah.
Apparently the ending is good, even though I don't remember it right now. I'm sure that it is. All right, people. You watched it, you can't unwatch it. That'll be $10 at subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT. You should go there, also buy our Titan Week t-shirt and other things, and also go to Twitter, Discord, and give us KHANTEHNT clips so we can play them at the end of episodes. Thanks for watching. See you next time.